Um, yes, you're getting a message now. We'll record this session. So if you have enjoyed it afterwards and want to watch again or want to share with someone after, we'll send out the link following this conversation. Thank you all for being here. It's this Thursday session has really become something I really look forward to. So I'm so grateful to our guests today for joining, and to those of you who it's your first time with us, welcome. It's very exciting for us to have the opportunity to have this conversation with a few of our female members of the American Muslim Institute, one of our partners on the Tri-Faith Commons through the American Muslim Institute. And we're so blessed that you're willing to share your stories with us today. It's going to be a very casual conversation. And when we get through some of the questions that I've given in advance, I will welcome you to add your questions in the chat, and we'll try to take some questions from you all who are here today as well. I need to make a shameless plug at the beginning. If any of you did not by chance experience the grand opening, virtual grand opening this weekend, it's something where, I don't know, I think it was remarkable. I just think it was something that Tri-Faith, all of us together, need to be proud of. And those links are available. So if you want to share them with your friends and family and colleagues, we'll post the link for you to be able to share those in the follow-up email and in the chat today as well. So please help us spread the word, because the more people know about the good work we're doing, the better. And on that note, we were covered by the todayshow.com this week. And so there is a national article celebrating the Tri-Faith Initiative, and we will share that in the chat also if you haven't had a chance to see that article. It's really beautiful.
Yes.
So now we'll get to our guests for today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves by telling a story. Carrie, we're going to start with you. And if you could, and this is less maybe interesting, I think it's interesting, but if you could start by telling us your name, and if there's a story behind your name, we'll start with that. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces on here. I am Carrie Mohudeen. I am not Indian. My husband is Indian. My maiden name was Tobin, which hails from Ireland, Roman Catholic, Irish, and I'm the youngest of 7. And the name Carrie was that of the babysitter who was taking care of my other siblings when my mom was having me, because they ran out of names. So nothing particularly interesting behind my name. It did take me a little while to learn how to say my husband's last name. But other than that, that's about all I got. Good to see everybody.
Thank you. Miriam, how about you?
Hello, everybody. My name is Miriam Amini, and I'm from Afghanistan. So there's a lot behind the name, I would say. You know, every person's personality shapes from their name. So since my name is Miriam, I'm going to say I'm patient, like Mary was, courageous, and very ambitious. And my dad named me. At first, they decided to name me Marjan, which is a name of a jewel. And then somehow they decided, no, Miriam will suit me better. So they named me Miriam. So nothing much behind that. So there I am.
Thank you. Amal. You need to unmute.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my name is Amal, which means hope in English. And I actually go that by name on my Facebook. I love my name. The way it came about was that, this is what they told me. When my mom was giving birth to me, she had a very long, difficult birth, and it was just really a struggle for the midwife too. And then they had a different name in mind. So, but the midwife said, no, she's this girl, the only name she can have is Amal in Arabic, which means hope, because she said it was hope that got me through the night to deliver this child. So let's give her that name. And I'm glad she did, because I think all my life was just, I lived in hope. So yeah, that's how my name came about.
Beautiful. Thank you, Graciela.
Good morning, or I should say good afternoon. My name is Graciela Sharif, and I am originally from Peru, South America. And my name, Graciela, has origins Italian and Spanish, and it's pretty much grace in Spanish, for grace in English. And it means pleasing and agreeable. From what I hear, my mother always says that there was a very good looking nurse that was named Graciela that my dad really liked. So she thinks that's where it comes from. But I really love my name, to be honest, because even they always joked around about that and saying that, oh yeah, this is why I picked that name. But to me, it tells a lot about my personality too. So.
Beautiful. For any of you who wonder, Wendy didn't exist as a name until Peter Pan. And so I very much was named after Wendy and Peter Pan. I just think that's funny. I never have anything deep and profound to say about my name. It doesn't have a special meaning. Well, I suppose Wendy, she was, the keeper of lost boys. Maybe that's who I am. It's kind of a funny thing to think about. Let's go to you, Graciela, first with this next one. Tell us, I think it's important for us to remember to ground ourselves with this in the middle of the uncertainty that we have, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of systemic injustice, and the uncertainty of the pending election and so much else. So how are you faring with all of that, and how is your family?
So my family, we actually were the first ones to quarantine here in Nebraska, because the very first case of COVID that happened in Fremont was at a Special Olympics basketball game, and which my son and I attended. And so we started pretty early. It has been a little less frustrating now, because now he's getting to go out. But definitely the mental health piece, it's everybody's stressed nowadays. But I feel that people with more challenges in life and limitations are the ones who are suffering the most. So this is why we are here to support them. I actually was a little late today because I just came from Children's Hospital from visiting a family whose child is going through a very difficult time. But this is, I always tell families, because you're going to learn more about the kind of job I do, that the connections are extremely important now, more than ever. And it doesn't matter that this virus is going on. We need to try everything we can with, of course, the necessary precautions, but to stay connected and show families that we are here for them and help each other. You also mentioned about how am I handling the situation going on, the social issues going on. It is hard to see what's going on, but I think this is a good time for all of us who have specific privileges to speak up for people who need us to support them in these difficult times. We cannot be silenced anymore.
Thank you. Carrie, same question.
How am I holding up, and how is my family doing? Yeah, I'm okay. I am naturally a very social person. I get a lot of my energy from interacting with friends and family. And that, I think, has been extremely difficult for me. And then, of course, with the political climate, vacillating between hopeless and hopeful. on an hourly minute basis sometimes. My family is doing well, relatively speaking. My husband, some of you know, does struggle with some health issues. So that is an ever-growing concern of mine. But I am just so grateful every day that we're healthy, and my heart goes out to so many in the community, and I mean in the world. So I think for me, that's been my point of where I find some balance, is remembering this is a worldwide situation we're in regarding COVID, and quite honestly, regarding politics and our state of things right now. But I'm holding up. I'm doing okay. Thank you.
Amal, thank you.
Hi. So basically, I guess we all share a common feeling about COVID, because it came out of nowhere. It suddenly hit us and hit our world and our daily lives. Alhamdulillah, I guess we could say thank God for most of us who survived it, and then we didn't have any problems. And thank God, myself and my family, we were not affected. But at the same time, it's just like Carrie was saying about being a social person. I mean, I'm like that as well. And then just being stuck at home all the time with the kids too, it was a challenge. But one good thing that came out for me was, if I dare to say, is that being an author, I started, taking up on writing. And then that was just being stuck at home. All I could do was be in front of my laptop and just write. And then, it worked out well with me, because then I could just focus on that. And then I was able to, cross that bridge. And so thank God so I had its pros and cons, and overall, I think we're all going through it, and then it's a global thing, and it's nice that, we support each other, and we go through it, and then it will be a passing thing.
Thank you. We're going to come back to you as the author. We'll spend more time on that. Miriam, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, it's been pretty good for us. So far, in USA, my family hasn't been affected. But in Afghanistan, my brother and his family was affected by COVID. The whole family got it. But thank God it was mild, and they went through it just fine. But, we just the whole family tried not to go out as much, and only go out if necessary, if needed. So we took all the precautions that we could to protect ourselves and everybody else, people and the family. My mom lives with me, so it was kind of hard for my brothers and sisters. They would come and say hi to her from the window, or just come in for 5 minutes from far, say, "Hey, Mom, we're here to check on you." And that was it. So for a long time, but thank God everything is fine with us.
Good. Miriam, we'll move to you for I'm glad to hear that you're all holding up, and however we can help to support each other. One of the things that our chair, Dr. Ali Khan, said is how important it is to isolate the virus, but not people. And I hear that in all of your message. And so as the winter comes, how will we find each other in these spaces to be safe and to have human connection? So I hope we continue to be intentional about that. So yes. Thank you for your vulnerability on that. Miriam, can you tell us something about you that might surprise people?
I was thinking about that question, actually. So I thought to go back, way back in my life. I was 1 year old when my family moved in Iran. And so I remember there was a time where I saw my neighbor kid was telling me that he's going to school. I mean, she's going to school the next day or so, or the next week. I was like, I want to go to school too. So I went home and I told my mom, I want to go to school. So in Iran, their political system is they don't allow Afghan children to go to school. So you have to fight it. So at that time, it wasn't that hard. So my mom got up and said, let's go to school. So she went and got us signed up. It was me and my older sister. She's 2 years older than me. So we both started the school first grader together in the same class. And then after we finished the second grade, they said we cannot have Afghan students in our school anymore. So they kicked us out. So that was very, very hard for me as a child to know that I am different than any other child who's speaking the same language, who has the same religion, and who I don't know any difference between us. So I went to the principal's office and I asked, what can I do to stay at the school or pass my next grade, which would be the third grade? They're like, well, you can't stay at the school. I was like, then can I have the third grade books? So can I take the tests, like come and take the tests and then, be signed off that I finished third grade? They're like, yeah, you can do that. So she was a nice lady and she gave me the books. So my sister and I, we studied the third grade books on our own with no help at all. And we passed. At the end of the year, they had like mid-exams, mid-year, and then at the end of the year. And that's what we did. My sister and I, we studied and we passed third grade. And then after that, we moved out of that area to a different house, which was very far away. So then I was like, then what? And I heard that if you pass through the fifth grade, then they will let you go in the middle school. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do to get to the middle school? So at that time, they had these classes that were offered for older people who were uneducated. And I was at the bakery buying some bread. I saw a girl walking by, something under his scarf. I knew her. I was like, hey, I approached her. I was like, what are you carrying under your scarf? She said, books. I was like, what kind of books? She said, fifth grade books. I was like, then where are you studying that? She told me it's like the grown-up, school or a study. That's where I'm going. So I was like, okay, I got the address. So I went home. I told my mom and sisters, they're offering a fifth grader for those who are at the, for older people, maybe we can go and do that too. It was actually like the school fifth grade books. So we ran and we signed up for that. And because the grown-up level was like 1, 2, and then to the fifth, they would jump to the fifth. So we were qualified to get in. And then, so it was like right after that. So the things were just coming up back to back. So I studied that. Now that I go back and think about it, I see, wow, for being that age, my son is in fourth grade, and I have to push him to do stuff. But I'm like, wow, going back, being such a, 7-8-year-old and being that much into trying to learn and fight for education and everything, that was, I think, going back, it amuses me about me. It makes me feel like proud that, hey, you did something when you were a child that no other kids would do in a lot of parts of the world. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Amal, tell us something about you that would surprise people about what it's like to be you.
I wish I had an interesting story like Miriam. So I think the thing that people who don't know me is that would surprise them, I think. I mean, I tried to ask a couple of my friends, what do you think? And then, so from my perspective is that I think my my ambitions and my goals to, and my what I really, one of my favorite ayahs, the verses of the Quran, is a verse where God says to the angel, I will create, I shared that with my first book, I will create a vicegerent, which is in Arabic it's called Khalifa. It's like a steward, a carers, well, in the world, and on the planet, on the, on this earth. And then the reason why the reason why I wrote the story of Adam as well, one of the reasons. And so for me, that just speaks volumes. This is the reason why we all here on this planet, is that we all vicegerents and the stewardess, that we all take care of each other. And then, even though my belief is I'm a Muslim, but on a bigger level is I believe in humanity. I believe that we all one, regardless of our creed, and and then God didn't just place us here and then he like some people would say, God was, why is all this happening? No, he placed us here. He gave us the tools. He gave us the wisdom to, help each other, and then, better ourselves, our environment, and everything. So for me, that's one of the things, I guess, that I don't always talk about, but I try to put that out there now with my books and stuff. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Carrie, how about you? What's the surprise that will help us know something deeper about you?
I don't know if there's any surprises. I'm one of those, I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, and kind of what you see is what you get. So there's not a lot of secrets or mystery about what makes me tick. I do think that I guess something that I hold very close is that I really believe in community service, and that is where hopefully my influence will live on when I'm long gone, is the impact I can make today in whatever arena I think where there is a need. It's something that I hold very close to me, and something that was very much embedded into the fabric of who I am and my siblings, who I'm, from my parents. And it really is very integral into my life and how I live my life, what I do, the people I am close to. I think that is where I find some of my greatest joy, is helping others through public service, community service, sharing the blessings that I have, and also teaching that to my children is such, that brings me great joy and gives me purpose. So, but other than that, I think something that would surprise people about what it's like to be you. Well, those that have known me for quite a while, my rough edges, I think age has smoothed my rough edges down. And I think I have found that having restraint of pen and tongue has been a good thing for me in my maturing years. And being over 50 with a 5-year-old, I have to use my energy wisely. And so that has been a good thing, because I used to be a little bit of a loose cannon, and I am grateful that that has been. Graciela, you've seen me, and I, believe it or not, I'm a lot more tame than I used to be. So those are a couple things about me, but I don't know if any of it is a surprise to anyone. So thank you.
Graciela, how about you?
Just like Carrie, I don't think if it's, well, it will be considered a surprise, but there is something that the Quran tells us that says, we made you into nations and tribes that you may get to know and love one another. And that is so true within my family, because my family is a very multicultural family. Palestinians, Venezuelan, Colombian, German, Mexican-American, Indian, Peruvians. And it's true because we are really a true melting pot. And my family is my foundation, is who I am. We connect every day, thanks to technology. And I just don't know, for some people it's a surprise to know that we are so multicultural. To me, it's just natural now. And now that I'm learning more about my religion, it is so true, because this is who I am. And it just makes me appreciate differences from other people. And I don't know. It's not a secret. I share it all the time. We all met at UNO. There you go, you have it. So.
Beautiful. So you said melting pot, which takes me to the next question. Ibu Patel, who is an interfaith thought leader, says that our intention with interfaith work is to be a potluck, not a melting pot. And the potluck honors that we each bring unique flavors to the table, and that difference is okay, that they can taste good on the same plate, right? So
I love
that brings me to my next question, which is, and also this is the sadness that I feel that we're not gathering together for food, and food is such a cool thing to bring us together. So tell us your favorite recipe and a story behind that recipe. And Graciela, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I am a very bad cook. I have a wonderful mother-in-law and husband who love to cook, but I'm going to tell you something. According to my in-laws and my family members, they say that I make the best kanafe. And I am starting to believe that, because they tell me that so much. So yeah, I know, Carrie, I have to bring it to Halakha.
Tell us what it is.
Oh, it's a Palestinian Middle Eastern dessert. It's known all over the Middle East. And it is delicious. It's made out with these Arabic ingredients. It's kind of like a noodle type. You guys know what I'm talking about, the Middle Eastern ladies. And you put in the middle sweet cheese with ricotta, and then you put honey on top, and it's just, it's delicious. My niece, who now lives in Chicago, begs me every time she comes to Omaha, please, Tia, make kanafe. So
Thank you. Amal, how about you? Do you have a favorite recipe and a story with it?
I was thinking of two things, but I will, since Graciela mentioned the kanafe, oh my God, it's my favorite dessert. I'm gonna pick an almond cookie that I make. There's no story, a big story behind it, but it's just one of my favorite cookie that I like to have with my coffee. And and I had in the past where a lot of people ask me for the recipe, and then it's a simple recipe as well. So it's one of my favorite things, because in the morning I can't go with my coffee without it. It's just an almond cookie that I make using almond flour and coconut oil and brown sugar, really. And then just, this is a very simple thing. I can make it anytime, at night, day, whatever. And a lot of people tried it and they liked it, and that's it, really. There's no story behind it. I just wanted something a bit on the healthy side, but that I can eat regularly.
Good. Miriam?
I was pregnant on my second son. I went to a friend's house, and she had this kind of a rice that I've seen it before, but I never cooked it myself. And I had it before too, but it was amazingly delicious, more than ever. So I asked her how she makes that rice, because I really need to make this rice now. And she just told me the recipe. So ever since, it's like almost 8 years now, I make the best of that kind of a rice. When my family has something going on, if they want that rice, they're like, hey, can you make that and bring it? So this is just rice with dill weed. Is that what it's called? The green, yeah, it's like a green dry vegetable. I think it's dill weed. Is that a,
yes.
Yeah, it's with the dill weed. So, and then tortilla under it, and then we bake it in the oven for like an hour. And the tortilla becomes just unbelievably delicious under it, and it bakes with the rice. And so ever since, that's been my favorite recipe in rice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Carrie, are you a cook?
I am a cook. Food is really one of the ways that's my heart language, is through food, especially sweets. My mother was an incredible cook, and there's a couple little recipes that are very simple. But when my mother passed away, and I have lots of siblings, we did kind of you draw a number and then you take from the table some of her trinkets and items. And my siblings at the time thought I was crazy, because the first thing I grabbed was her recipe box. And nobody really noticed that until years later when they're asking. And the next thing I took was her wooden spoon and her cast iron skillet. And she used that cast iron skillet to make thousands upon thousands of batches of her very famous peanut brittle. And it's a simple recipe, and I could give it to you, but you would not be able to duplicate my mother's peanut brittle, because as a child, I grew up on her hip. The minute we got a cold snap, it was time for peanut brittle, and the house smelled like roasting peanuts, and that pan was forever on the stove. And I just learned from watching her, and I miss her so much. But when I make my peanut brittle, I can hear her every step of the way. I get chills because I can hear her say, now watch how that sugar syrup, see how it comes together. Not ready yet. And then don't burn the peanuts. You got to keep stirring. I hear all of it. So it's really, to make my mother's peanut brittle is to really visit with my mom and to have her join us. The other thing, and there's a reason these two recipes came to mind, is a woman named Dolores Palmer was a very old friend of our family. And every holiday season, she would bring us date balls. And they're just melted dates with sugar and nuts and I think Rice Krispies. And they're rolled in pecans. And I have always made them because they're so simple. And there's so much butter. And if it has butter, I love it. And when I met my husband, and I was intimidated. My husband's family was Muslim. I was not Muslim. I was not familiar with Islam. But I wanted to get in good with his relatives, but I didn't know how, because the only way I know how to be is to be me. Anyway, we went there for a holiday. I think it was Ramadan, and they were breaking fast. And I happened to make date balls. And I took them to their house. And all of his relatives were like, oh, this Catholic girl is bringing date balls. I had no idea that the date was such a significant fasting, the food that you break your fast with. So it was really, really special to his mother and to his aunts that I brought these wonderful date balls that were full of butter and sugar and dates. They were just wonderful. And then the peanut brittle, well, that's just kind of my signature gift that I give out at any special time once after we have a cold snap. So I'm waiting for that, and some of you may receive a little tray of peanut brittle. So those are my two recipes.
I'll put my address in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe some date ball. Actually, now I do a plate of peanut brittle with some date balls thrown on there. And that's
great.
kind of it.
Well, Graciela said that you're known for your pies, and Gail Knapp is on the call.
Oh.
She, in my book, might have the best pie, so we might have to have a pie bake-off contest.
Yeah.
I think we have that coming. Again, I'll volunteer to be the judge. Let's keep going. I'm sure David would be the judge too. He's really a fan of Gail's pies. That would probably be an uphill battle.
As long as Graciela brings some kanafi, that is one you cannot miss. It is the most
we're going to have to get some recipes. Mary's asked us to see if we can get some recipes that we can share out with the group of everyone's here. I knew this food question would go big. Let's go to maybe a little bit more complicated conversation. I'd like to know if you could tell us a common misconception or belief that people have that they hold about the community of which you participate. So in any place in the intersection of your identity, where is there a common misconception that people hold about you? Carrie, why don't you continue if you would, please?
Oh, I didn't mute, sorry. That's an interesting question. And, I'll be honest, I think I have come as a student and I'm learning and have been up until COVID was a regular attender of a Saturday class. And I think the thing that I came with as a misperception when I met my husband and my husband's family, and then even now as a member of the mosque, as a non-practicing Muslim, I am not Muslim, but I'm finding my way there, and I find myself probably more Muslim than anything. But I think I had one view, and the people I know seem to have a very extreme idea of what it means to practice Islam. And what I have found is there is a rainbow. There's so much diversity within that faith. And it's a very beautiful, gentle religion. And it truly is. So I think the tri-faith is just such an amazingly beautiful concept and reality of what is happening. But what I have learned in my lessons with Imam and with the class is that there is just so many different ways to practice, all while being very devout at the same time. And there's a wide range. There are, just like in any religion, it doesn't all look the same. Everyone is different and unique. And so I have found that to be very refreshing. I think in marrying into a Muslim family was a very big learning lesson, not only for me, but for my whole family. And what a wonderful family I married into. The lessons that we've learned through loving one another and the teachings of Prophet Abraham have been really integral in the relationships that we have built with each other. So that's about that. I could go on and on, actually.
That's good. Amal, how about you?
So a thing is, I wish the outside world, people who are not part of Tri-Faith would knew how beautiful this thing is, the Tri-Faith, and us working together and then building bridges and just that's. But one misconception I heard a while ago is just, and then it's through ignorance. People don't know because they are afraid to come into our communities and then see us who we are, and then and then they just assume. Like, one of the things I heard was that we all, like, part of one congregations, we all like pray together, we, like, Muslims and Jews and Christians, like we following, like, as a Muslim you following Christians and Jews, or or vice versa. And then some people, through their ignorance, just instead of like coming in and then seeing for themselves, they just, step back and then just assume what they think it is, instead of like seeing this beautiful thing. And we all have our own congregation, but we live side by side, and then we work together, and then which is a beautiful thing. So that's one thing, absurd, ridiculous things I heard. So I wish they knew better.
Have that to teach ahead. Miriam, how about you? What's a common misconception about tri-faith or Islam or any part?
I think about tri-faith as lack of knowledge, and it goes the same way as about Islam too. So it's like a being a Muslim. It's you just have to have this strong belief, or a strong way of like introducing yourself to people who does not understand your religion, and they only know it from the media. So I have two neighbors on my left side. I'm a corner house, so we're on the other side of the street. Amazing people. So one of them, it was a single man with his children, and then the other one a family, which I'm very close to the wife, but the husband was not very friendly usually. So I thought, hey, it's him, right? So one day I was dropping off something there, and he was eating his lunch, and he was complaining about like how that he was retired. I told him, hey, why don't you come and volunteer for Tri-Faith then? That will expose you to a lot of, wonderful stuff that may keep you very busy, And he goes like, oh, no. I was like, why not? He goes like, oh, we have a totally different doctrine. I was like, well, you don't have to believe in anything that Tri-Faith do. You just come and volunteer and work with everybody, know people, it just gets you something to do. And he completely rejected it as if it was something to fear. And then I left it. I figured that he was a little bit of, that's why he's not very friendly to me, maybe because I come from a different background. But then slowly I noticed that there are some changes in him. And it's amazing that now I feel like 100% confident about him, that he's not thinking like that because of the way he talks now, because of the way he acts now, because of the way, I invited them for lunch the other day because they're moving to a different house. So I made some Afghan dishes, and I was like, hey, I want you guys to come over and have lunch with us. And he came, he showed up, and he's like, can we have this again? I'm like, well, anytime you just give me a call, I'll make this for you. And I think, and he told me something that happened with our other neighbor, the man with the single man with children. They moved too, but there was an occasion I was putting an American flag up. It was 4th of July time. It was in July. So I put the flag on, not noticing that the stars were down. So I saw him calling on me and saying, hey, Miriam. I'm like, yes. He's like, what's up with the flag? I look up, I'm like, nothing. What's up with it? He goes like, no, what's up with it? I was like, I don't know what's up with it. What's up with it? He was like, you did it upside down. I was like, oh my God, you're right. So I put it down, and then I correctly put it up, right? And so this neighbor on the lunch day, he told me that how upset he was, the man who told me about, made me notice that I put the flag wrong. He's like, Kyle was very upset about it. And like to the point that he was angry. Do you know what that means? I was like, no, I don't know what that means. He goes like, if somebody put the flag down, that means cursing America and stuff. I was like, then those people don't need to live in America if they want to visibly put a flag up there like that, right? So I kind of, that day I learned that how much a misconception can enter people's minds and brains out of a mistake maybe somebody makes unnoticeably. If he did not make me realize that I put the flag wrong, it would have been hanging there, right? Because it's like very high, and I wouldn't even notice it until I really look up, or maybe later on I would notice it. And how much people could misperceive you, misunderstand you, especially if you come from a different background. And I thought, like, oh my God, like this is really something to be careful around people. Even, and it also made me realize not to misperceive anybody else either if somebody else does it, because maybe they made a mistake, right?
Thank you.
So I thought that was interesting.
It's a powerful example. Thank you.
Yeah.
Graciela?
One of the misconceptions that I hear a lot are that in Islam, women are oppressed, second citizen. And to me, I mean, it's such a big misconception because Islam actually empowers us to be who we are. And a good example is, I mean, this is a professional. I remember one year I invited this professional to come to my son's independent educational program meeting, which was a very difficult meeting because we were dealing with the school district trying to get advocating for our son. And at this meeting, things went terribly wrong. And my husband spoke really loudly because he was frustrated with the discrimination that we were facing. And I was at a point that I just couldn't take it, and I stayed quiet because it was this was one of the so many meetings that we had. And I remember we left and we just thanked him for coming to this meeting to support us. And then he was telling other professionals that worked in the same institute, oh yes, the Muslim, religion, the man is usually the one who speaks up. Women stay quiet in the meetings. And I just said, oh my God, I had to call him back. And I said, listen, you don't know what happened before. You don't know my family. You don't know what was happening at that meeting. This was just one of the many meetings we had had. I am the one actually who advocates for every day. So does my husband, but I'm the one who is, more connected to the school districts and the therapies and things like that. But that taught me that he had already assumed that Graciela went to meetings and was not allowed to talk. And it was like, wow. So big misconception there, because we Muslim women are everywhere. We are, in education, in healthcare, in you name it. And just people just assume that we don't have a voice.
So Joe who's listening in did ask a question about if there are unique things about gender. Do any of the others of you have something to say about your relationship as a woman to your faith or the faith community? Any additions to Graciela?
Equal rights, definitely.
Anyone else?
I've had an interesting experience with that. And, I agree with Graciela wholeheartedly. It's been a learning experience. And as I'm a pretty darned independent, assertive female, and I think there are, again, there are quiet, submissive Christians, both men and women. There's quiet, submissive Jews. There's quiet, submissive Muslims. And there's loud, aggressive Jews and Christians and Muslims. And I think that it varies just like the people vary. I think I did have a misunderstanding that to be a Muslim woman meant I had to be I had some strange stereotypical idea in my head, and that has been completely shattered and broken. And reformulated into, I think, a more authentic view. And that has been very, very refreshing. Very refreshing, because I think that the world tends to they want to put everything in a nice, neat, tidy box. And this is what it means to be Jewish, or this is what it means to be Muslim or Christian. And boy, have I learned a lot,
I just wanted to add to that the fact that the thing is, in Islam, we do have equal rights, not the way maybe the West knows the equal rights. And a lot of times I think it's because, for example, I wear hijab because I chose to wear hijab, while my parents didn't. Actually, I rebelled when I was a teenager. I did not want to wear it. And then later on, when I read and I understood the religion, then I chose to wear it. So that's one of the things, because they think that we all submissive and we just sit at the back. And a lot of times it's actually culture. In a lot of cultures, when people, the way they choose to, treat their women, or is mainly from culture. I mean, Islam, for example, 1400 years ago in Islam, people were women. There was no such thing as, the rights to vote. In Islam, women always had the right to vote, things like that, and also inheritance. There's so many things and it's clearly there in the Quran. And one of the things that people don't know, even I didn't know until I got married, was that when you get married, actually, you don't have to cook for your husband. You don't have to, there's a lot of things you don't even have to do. You do it because you want to. And if you contribute into the marriage, or if you put, if you say you pay part of the rent or whatever, the husband has to give you that money back. It's yours. So there's so many things that, I wish people knew. We're talking about misconception again. So that's a very interesting thing that most people don't know, even within our communities.
Thank you. There was another question in the chat related to this about men and women being separate during prayer. Does someone feel comfortable telling about the why of that and how you feel about that, or if that's a practice everywhere?
I can say something about that. I truly honor that, because when we go to a mosque, we go to pray. We don't go to, make relationships. So men and women separate helps women focus on their prayer and helps men focus on their prayer. So you don't go and focus on, oh, look at that man, so cute, or look at that woman, she's so beautiful. So you don't go and focus on that part. You just focus strictly on your studying. And usually when woman is in the back and man is up front, because men naturally tend to focus more on woman's back. So that's why it's better for the woman to be in the back and men up front, so we both could focus, instead of woman could focus and men could focus on the woman's back. So to me, it makes sense, and I honor it, and I don't have any problem as a Muslim, and I think that's supposed to be.
Anyone else want to contribute to that question?
I just, the only thing I want to say is that, Miriam is right. When we go and then, go to the mosque, we're there to worship God. And then God naturally is in us that men and women are attracted to each other. And then, so just that separation is just so you can focus on your prayers more rather than anything else, so. And then just to, balance things, I guess, in a way.
Thank you. Amal, I want to make sure everyone knows how you've spent this last year. Could you tell us just in a minute or two about your big project and your gifts that you've given the world?
Oh, thank you. I would love to. So I'll try and make it as quickly as possible and short. So 2 years ago, I decided to write children's books. And in our community, especially, it's really difficult to find a good, stories of the prophets. And then generally, there aren't that many Islamic books out there for the kids. So I took upon this journey myself, this big ambitious thing. And then I started with the story of Adam. And then I shared one of the ayah I shared before. It was something that always intrigued me. And then so I started writing, and then it wasn't an easy journey. Once I delved into it, eventually I was like, this is a lot harder than I thought. What was I thinking? So anyway, we after a long time, and then trying to find editors and illustrators and all these things, and then first it was Adam, and then it was the story about Miriam's Eid party, and then it slowly followed, and then next thing I know, I've written 5 books. And then one of the things that I'm really working on, that I'm really excited about now, is the story of Jesus I'm doing. Just started, so it's not, I don't know how long that is going to take. So it's been an amazing experience. And then being part of Tri-Faith, of course, I included that as well. Especially the story of Miriam. There's 2 friends. One is Mary and one is Miriam, and they both have, what similarities they share. And the story of Moses, oh my God, it was just, he's the ultimate hero. And I wanted to write that. He's, so I only wrote part 1. So yeah, I mean, I would, it's been I'm glad I did this. Now in hindsight, where I am is one of the best decisions I've made. And thank you, Wendy. And then being part of Tri-Faith, I think it's been perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Well, as is the case, the hour went very quickly. Thank you so much for sharing so freely with us today. I'm just going to ask a quick question. Raise your hand, yes or no, because I want to make sure Leor gets her question answered. Do your children go to public school? If there's a yes for public school, and yeah. So that was a question that you had. That is, and they have supplementary education in the mosque for religious studies that's very similar to what happens in other faith denominations in the country, in the United States. I have put a survey in the chat. I would love for you to give us some feedback and to know to watch for additional programming that's coming up. Our next Open Heart series is on November 12th, and we will be wishing our fond greetings to Reverend Elnis as he leaves Countryside Community Church, and the other clergy will join us on that day too, to celebrate his contributions to the Tri-Faith Initiative. So watch for details on that. And again, thank you so much. It's been kind of our practice to rub our hands together at the end. If you feel willing to do so, do. When you finish, know that we're gathering energy together, and you can either choose, if you need it today, to put it into your heart, onto your face, or if you have energy to share your hands out to others, right? For a way for us to gather together while apart. So thank you all so much for your energy, for the love that you bring to Tri-Faith, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.